Hey everyone, Cynics here, and I can't believe it, but we're in 2025 now. And if there's one thing you can still rely on with this channel, it's traditions. We have our traditions. We have Self-Portrait Day every November 1st. We've been keeping that going. We have Chroma Core every summer, and that's been amazing. And of course, we also have our yearly look back of all of the art that I made the previous year. So we're going to take a look at everything I did during 2024, which started out kind of strong and then once again just fell off entirely after Chroma Core. But with good excuse this time, because if you didn't know from watching the self-portrait video or whatever, I have a baby now. So there's a little baby. She's been taking up most of my free time. I haven't had a lot of time to actually do anything else. But it's been amazing. And she's finally sleeping through the nights, so I have a little bit of time late at night. I'm tired, but I have a little bit of time to actually record this video. Anyway, the last thing I'll mention is that, yeah, I don't really remember most of the stuff I make, which is why these recaps are so fun for me as well. I usually just have everything saved as PSD files when I'm working on them, so I don't get to see a thumbnail. You know, the thumbnail's just a little Photoshop icon. I'm sure there's programs that show you the actual thumbnail of what's in the PSD. But on my computer, it just shows up as a file for Photoshop, so I have no idea what's ever inside them. And this is like a little gift to myself where I get to unwrap all of these PSDs and actually look at what I made this year, because I'm sure half of it I don't remember. So let's just dive in there and start looking around. All right, it looks like we're starting off 2024 the same way we ended 2023, with some clouds. So the first thing I did in 2024 was this little cloud painting. Once again, just practicing a brush work. You can see really aiming for smooth, buttery transitions, which I think I got some of. I always like it when it's nice and smooth, and then you have a couple hard edges. It's really fun to paint clouds. But anyway, I threw in the little face, little hands, little foreground stuff afterward. But the crux of things is just in the clouds themselves, which were a lot of fun. Then we have some faces, it seems. Definitely enjoy my faces. It's still my comfort zone. I think I was trying some different styles. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of them. But it's always good to try different styles, try to explore potential styles and things like that. But speaking of stylized faces, I guess I can just mention right here at the start. Why not? Then I don't have to bring it up later. The next Brainstorm class I will be doing is going to be the stylized portrait one, which I always have a lot of fun with. All my Brainstorm classes right now are kind of spread out. They happen like once every year to 2 years. So if you want to take the stylized portrait one, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun drawing faces together and making some goofy, weird, stylized, realistic, anime style, cartoony style, all sorts of stylized faces, and doing it together as a class. And you can find a link to that in the description below. But anyway, let's move on. Got some more faces. It looks like I was just practicing fluffy, weird little tufts of fluffiness. I don't even know. We got some fluffy mustache down there. Actually, hold on. Yes. Okay. Those eyes are actually just a paint over from something I was doing a paint over for on stream, which was just a very quick paint over. I know you guys miss paint over pals. It'll come back eventually. I just gotta, settle into my new parenting life. But you can see how much of a difference the proper placement of the planes around the eyes can make. Because I try not to change too much of anything, just some light to hit those downward facing planes, and that's pretty much it. We have some studies. I was really big on studying Vladimir Mozart at the start of the year. I was referencing him to a lot of people when I was talking about ideas of ratios of light versus darkness in paintings and stuff like that, because I feel like Vladimir does an amazing job with that, and I just kind of like the moodiness of all of his paintings. Definitely check him out. You can see the name there. Give it a Google, give it a ArtStation lookup. Anyway, we have some character stuff, some quick thumbnails. I think probably from a stream. I don't really remember. But just kind of delving into these types of thumbnail silhouettes where you're just kind of, loosely adding some very muted tones to them. Obviously, a very muted feeling coming off that Vladimir Mozart studies, just kind of getting into these earthy tones with like a little hint of color at times. And I kind of like that style, kind of feel like it fits pretty good. But anyway, another paint over, and this one I think might be a little bit more substantial than the last one because I got to talk about textures and materials. So this was a paint over done on stream. You can see the main thing I'm messing around with is just this little feathery boa looking accessory. I don't know what it is. How you get quick, efficient texture on something like that. How you can kind of fake it too by just kind of picking out little points of ambient occlusion and just kind of layering stuff and building it up. Obviously, the arms are also different. A little bits of skin hue tone variation going on in the nose and whatnot. Just subtle little changes, but I think they make a huge difference, especially those folds of light that hit the top of the jeans around the waist and everything. I feel like it, minor differences can make a huge just improvement on the whole thing. But anyway, I'm sorry, I don't remember, by the way, whose art this was a paint over of. I'm sorry. Don't mean to offend with that. So, if it's yours, just mention it in the comments. But anyway, got some face paintings here, which I honestly don't remember doing at all. So that's always a good sign that my memory is going. But it looks like I'm trying to get very plainer, very a little bit of color stuff. Big on getting those little hue shifts. Very subtle. It seems like the start of the year is really focused on those subtle tones. And then, of course, I forgot the first Brainstorm class I taught in 2023, or I'm sorry, 2024. I can't even keep these numbers straight. Was the weapon design class, which was a brand new class I was trying out. And we worked our way up through the kind of progression of technology. So starting out in the class, it was a lot of clubs and bones and stuff. So which mostly meant it was material practice, but also practicing like the flow of shapes. So this was like a warm-up I think I did. I also did this right before the class begun as just like a, hey, I gotta make sure I have some fun ideas for, doing these little designs. And I love the way the little jade monkey guy came out because it feels so cutesy. I guess I forgot I can zoom in on stuff. We can look closely. I'll try to remember that in the future. But anyway, there's also this one which I made just coming up with stuff. Although, as people pointed out after I posted it, there's already an artist out there that makes like weird, more adult themed guns and things using the Little Tykes brand kind of stuff. I think he calls it Little Yikes. I didn't know about that ahead of time, but then I found out because people showed it to me. It was very fun. But anyway, we have some more little quick gun practices. These actually were in the last year, the 2023 best of, but they were just sketches then, and now they have some very, very brief colors on them. So nothing too different there. Just, presenting stuff so I can try to get into my weapon design class. State of mind. And anyway, here we go. Some clubs. You might be thinking like, is this a good exercise to do for coming up with weapon designs? And I assure you, practicing simple things like clubs can go a very long way in helping you get more and more comfortable with the kind of flows of shapes. It was one thing we did in the class just to start out the class was like doing thumbnails for things like clubs and trying to make sure that they have, the appropriate ergonomics that kind of feel like they could be used as a club, but also have some good organic personality to them. And of course, then adding materials to them, such as bone and wood, because once again, we're starting with primitive stuff. So it's a material rendering class as well. The weapon design class, I don't know if I'll do that one again for the record. If I do, it probably won't be for a long time, maybe, years. Who knows? Anyway, more material studies. I believe a couple of these were actually paint overs, helping other students in the class to just improve their textures and materials. Because sometimes, it's easy to get thrown off when you're working with different materials. Got to figure out what to do. The bone one probably didn't spend too much time painting over, but I had a lot of fun with the left and right one, the wooden ones. Just kind of imagining those materials and getting way more, into them, differences in wood. More paint overs of student stuff. Once again, taking student work and just kind of showing how I would approach the texture for the wooden parts. And you get some weird ones, some weird versions with bark, some that are just gnarled kind of roots, and some that are bone, and some that are, kind of more internals of trees. I don't know, that's not the right word. Anyway, also practicing just for fun, just to, kind of keep in the spirit of practicing materials. I tried to do another face with wooden texture, and just to see how quickly I could do it. It's kind of a test of like, am I getting good at a material? Well, then how quickly can I make something look like it? So this one doesn't have a lot of time spent. You can see it's very like just quick brush strokes, rough, just playing around with the flow of the grain patterns, but not really getting into too much detail or anything like that. But I like those. Those are pretty good. And of course, after we get through clubs, we're moving on to swords. And personally, I'm a big fan of drawing sword designs. And of course, practicing blades to show the class how to do, basic metal blades. How to get the nice edges to read as edges, how to get the different parts to read as the parts you want them to read as. And it was a lot of fun. Honestly, what a great class. And anyway, there was also just in between those classes, I was still doing portrait stuff, having a lot of fun. Honestly, still going for those muted colors. And I think I was at a pretty good spot at the start of the year. Just making some good painting decisions. Because I kind of like these. I kind of feel like they work pretty well. So I'm happy with that. And more swords. Now I was trying to bring in some fun stuff. I think I was doing them in the class Discord, and we were thinking of dumb, silly themed ones, because it's fun to give yourself limitations. So we got the Cloud9 over there, the Et tu Brute. The Caesar stabbing one. We got the Fisherman's Sword, the Early Sunrise, the Mimic Sword. I like that one, actually. That feels like something out of Hollow Knight or something, with the little eyeball on the bottom. I guess it's just the shape language. But that one's kind of fun. Anyway, we also have the Chef's Kiss, which I guess I was just trying to think of something that the top of the sword reminded me of, because I've seen that shape, in a couple sword designs before, and I was like, kind of feels like a chef's hat. So we have the Chef's Kiss, a new wonderful sword design. And I don't know what tangent this went off of, but somehow we got into trying to draw Willem Dafoe from memory, and then drawing Willem Defriend, and then drawing, I don't know why he's ratatouilleed, but regardless, fun times. You never know. And in this one, we go in dark mode now. But some just more faces, Once again, the comfort zone is faces. Playing around with fun little shapes and ideas. Some foot tutorial stuff as well. And then, of course, moving on from swords, we got to get into firearms. So this is a evolution of what you might have seen in the old Lightbox video that's on my channel of how to do gun design. I enjoyed that video, for the record. If you've never watched it, it's a pretty good video that sums up some gun design principles. But you can see this actual gun trigger handle part. That is a painting, by the way. It looks kind of realistic because it's based on a study. But I did a quick digital painting study of the handle and trigger of, I think, in 1911. And then you can just kind of throw on other shapes around it to design all sorts of guns. And it's, once again, my favorite way to design firearms and weapons. So if you're going to study something, you always want to study the handles and triggers, get those really sunken into your visual library, because the rest is just shapes, and anyone can make shapes, but you need to be very disciplined when it comes to those handles and triggers. And then everything will work. It will be beautiful. So here's another painting practice of, I don't know, I'm going to say some kind of, looks like something more plasticky. So maybe it's an MP5. I don't know what it is. But definitely another pistol grip style thing that I didn't add any shapes to. But it's prime. It's ready for some shapes for sure. And then the other theme of the start of the year was bringing out the symmetry tool. So in Painter, in Photoshop, in most art programs, you can do radial symmetry, and it will just let you kind of set the number of symmetry paths and just make a bunch of stuff, and it makes it in a symmetry. You can obviously do just a mirror to draw portraits, right down the center and get the left and right to look the same. But I think it's a lot more fun to just make chaotic, weird, trippy kind of patterns and see what the painting process feels like for doing these. So that was like a little bit of an obsession I fell into around the time. I don't know. Maybe it was because I also went to a Tool concert around the time. I love a good Tool concert. I think there's more of them. Yeah. I was trying them a lot. I was trying to figure out what makes it look good, what makes it look bad, because it's very easy to just make them look too cluttered. And I think this one definitely gets cluttered in the center. But then there are parts where it tries to be more minimal, yeah. And those parts definitely feel better, but it's a feeling out process. And then let's see, do we got any more? No, but instead I decided to use those. So taking stuff like these and just overlaying them on top of silhouettes. And I figured that was quite a fun way to just ideate, to come up with new ideas, give yourself a little jumping off point. I love the way some of them look. Some of them are a little too busy and chaotic, but some of the more subtle ones, I feel like they give you a lot of good visual ideas, like the bottom left one or the ones on the right. Really just not the center row too much. I think they're, once again, a little too contrasty, but definitely a fun thing to try if you've never tried it. Just take your silhouettes of thumbnails of anything and just start overlaying some different weird paintings and background patterns and stuff. Anyway, I was also, because once again, this was like a little bit of an obsession I was having at the time. I also tried to implement a little bit of those patterns on top of just painting studies. So this was a quick painting study that I did off of a reference I saw someone post on the Discord. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a fun little painting study because it's got the fun, pants and folds. But what if I just put a little bit, a subtle amount of this extra craziness that I was making, these radial patterns, and just put it on top? Is it interesting? Maybe. I don't know if it's, I feel like it adds a little bit of texture, a little bit of unification to the whole painting. But I don't think it's completely figured out like the best way to use it. But nonetheless, an interesting experiment. This was just a demo for, I think, my LCAT class. Yeah, just talking about thumbnailing for different sizes and stuff. It's always a little bit tricky. More patterns. Ooh, even got some little like gun UI stuff. I don't even know. But definitely, once again, I was starting to realize, yeah, if I just keep things a little bit simpler, this gets still a little bit complex in parts, mainly in these parts. I think it's a little too complex. But I really liked doing these simple kind of color bursts out here and trying to really get simple in other areas. Once again, it's a tricky but kind of worthwhile challenge to take. Anyway, we got some quick stuff for the weapon design class. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, some of these were attempts to help other people with their designs. Maybe they had a fun design idea, or maybe some of these are my own. I can't remember. Or they were inspired by maybe some rough ideas, and I'm like, here's how you can make it better. I don't remember exactly. But we were kind of going for some nautical themed guns. So this one's the Kraken shotgun. Then we got some like crab-like little handgun over here. Something that's more just like, filigree related. Which is also a great fun thing to do, is practice your filigree anytime you have a chance. I'm a big fan of filigree. And here's some more guns with a little bit more filigree. I think these were also hard to say if they were original or if I was helping people kind of refine designs. But certainly as they are here, something fun and unique. Very classic style firearms, flintlock looking stuff. You can see from the complex trigger mechanisms going on. We also have, once again, filigree practice, which I love doing. These ones in the center are done using the mirror tool. Instead of a radial pattern, just a simple, mirror pattern. But yeah, practice your filigree. It's good for your draftsmanship. It's good for your line confidence. And it's just good for your sense of flow as well, which is so important in art. And then I guess this was for school as well. People were asking, what does it mean to make a real animal thumbnail? I'm like, you're just making a thumbnail of a real animal, trying to pick a pose, a reference that looks like it could become a thumbnail. But ignore that. That's not for you. This is where we're starting to get back into the radial patterns, except now I'm trying to do radial patterns with filigree. And I think it's kind of okay. I kind of like this one, I think. It's a little messy, could be cleaned up, but I think it's fun. Getting maybe too complex with this one, but there are parts that feel pretty interesting. So I kind of am enjoying this too. Maybe you are as well. But yeah, there's some weird stuff going on in this one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about this type of art. I personally love everything in the art world. If someone's doing weird filigree, I love it. If someone's just doing like doodle stuff, I love it. If someone's doing realistic stuff, love that. If someone's doing plein air painting, super fun. If someone's doing just weird graffiti stuff, love that. So everything visual is just kind of fun and interesting to me. And there's the transition from the gun and weapon design stuff into the class that started right after that one finished, which was another new one, the hand class. I decided to teach a class on hands in 2024, and it was pretty handy, I would say. The main thing we were doing in there is just drawing as many hands as we could. Obviously, each week we would talk about specific ideas and theories and, art stuff. There would be a lecture each week. It's a brainstorm class. But during the week in between classes, it was just kind of hang out in Discord and draw as many hands as you can. And some people wound up drawing, I don't know, probably close to 1,000 hands. There were definitely a lot of people that made 500 hands, which was my challenge to them. I didn't make it to 500, but I did make it far. I think I made it to like 300. I wish I could say that doing this suddenly will forever make you a master of hands, but no, it doesn't really feel like it. It definitely helps overall your confidence, but you're still going to have a little bit of a constant battle when it comes to hands, just like faces. They're infinitely complex, and it feels like the skill ceiling just never really exists. Like there's no top to where you finally are like, I've mastered it, I feel great. It's always like, oh, this could be better, that could be better. Anyway, I don't know why these are in here. Just some random fish from imagination, maybe from something. Fish people, merman. Definitely some post studies here. Is this at the time of Chemo Demeshi? I believe it might be. I know that at the same time the hand class was going, it was also Chemo Demeshi time. If you don't know, Chemo Demeshi is a Discord art challenge, kind of like Chromacore, except it's a daily not a battle, but it's a daily challenge. It can be a battle where you have to do a figure study every day. And if you don't submit something figurative, study related in a day, then you get booted from the server. So it's a very fun experience. Highly recommend it. Much like Chromacore, it's got a fun little community that exists for a short period of time and then dissipates and then comes back and then dissipates, and that makes it kind of fun, the fragility of it all. Then we're obviously doing hands still, so it's gonna be a lot of hands coming out, but a lot of these ones were from photo reference, if you're wondering why these ones feel like they look better than the previous ones. Or maybe you don't notice a difference, I don't know, but A lot of the previous ones are from imagination. These ones are more from photo reference. So I think I did like 100 the first couple days. But yeah, lots and lots of hands. And trying to figure out the right amount of time is always tricky to spend on each one. Trying to figure out which ones, have too much detail. What's the right amount of detail that you want for your style? That's kind of one of the trickier parts of the whole thing. Good exercises, just practicing hands. And back to Chemo Demeshi again for more stuff, doing some skateboarding ones, because why not? You can do whatever you want during Chemo Demeshi. So I like to do a bunch of skateboarding poses at times. Obviously, the year before in 2023, I did all just the same character, that kind of Eggman looking fat guy, just him every single day in different poses. But this year, I wasn't feeling that ambitious and I was busy with the hands and stuff. For the record, hands, when I say hands, it's important to also draw the wrist. Wrists are like the part that gets neglected the most in drawings, I find. It's very good to get a good sense of, the movement coming from the forearm into the wrist and then into the hand, and making that little break between the forearm and the hand, and making sure it has a nice offset is very important. So always be drawing the wrist at the very least when you're doing hand studies. That's my advice to all of you. Here's some more guitar related ones. I don't know. Definitely music feeling ones, but definitely having fun with a lot of those. I don't even know if these are from reference, because some of them look so stylized, and I might have just been stylizing reference. But I'm gonna say some of these are probably from imagination as well, or at least some hybrid of the two. They might even be based on my own hands now that I look at how bony and weird they are. But anyway, here's some more. Ooh, some tricks and tips. I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably not gonna teach the hand class again anytime soon, anytime within the next years. So yeah, if you want a quick tip about, getting those little thumbs and finger joints to look better, make sure you understand how to offset things, how to get those good organic feelings. You don't want things to just be even, symmetrical, mirrored down the center. You want to get good offsets, both in a lateral sense and in just that vertical offset sense. And if you can do both of those, you're going to get a lot of good organic stuff going. So that's a free tip for you all. Back to just a random mix. Chemo Demeshi, just getting weird with them, hands and faces. More skateboard related stuff with some more hands, of course. Weirder perspectives going on. This is around a time where I also decided that for Chemo Demeshi, because I didn't know what I wanted to do at the start, it was just kind of random. But as time went on, I realized what I'm going to do each day for Chemo Demeshi is I'm just going to take a big blobby round brush, and I'm just going to like kind of dab it around a little bit and just make some chaos on the page, and then try to just draw over it and just see what kind of things might come out of that. See if it inspires anything, just having a little bit of chaos on the page. And I think it was a more fun way to do things because it felt very energetic, and you get some weird, weird faces, some weird proportions, some weird expressions. I like that type of stuff. So here's another day of them. Once again, just weird blobs of faces and hands mostly. Yeah, you can kind of like dig around in there and find like, oh, there's a guy there. Oh, there's a guy over here. Oh, there's a big face right there. Some other little faces tucked in around the crevices and corners of everything. There's no real methodology to where things start and stop, so it's fine. If I'm not mistaken, I remember in the class it was kind of like we were starting off with a bunch of studies and then moving into just drawing them from imagination. So, maybe at this time it's just switching to imagination. More weird faces. Kind of feel like there's almost a face in here, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just imagining it. Certainly some obvious faces going on. But yeah, it's good times. We got some more very mysterious hands going on over here. I kind of like that. I like when the hands feel like they can relate to the expression on the faces, doing stuff like that. So more blobs, getting once again more and more weird as some of these days go on. Just not even trying to be anywhere near human realistic proportions. Just being like, here's a weird gremlin, goblin-y guy. Here's some weird proportions. Why not? Everyone looks like a weird hunchback or something. Um, there's some volleyball practice. Just once again, trying to figure out the most expedient way to do quick poses, how to stylize the simplifications of them a little bit is always fun, especially when they got complex hands, which is why it's good to focus on things like sports and stuff where you got a lot of weird hand movements, especially like volleyball, because people's hands are always like up. They're always kind of doing things in kind of slightly exaggerated poses. So it kind of makes it good for practicing weird arm and hand poses. Let's see. And there's some more stuff there. Going for a very chunky, boxy style for hands. Because once again, the class wasn't just about drawing hands from reference. It was also about how to stylize hands. More weird gremlin-y guys hiding around in the crowds. This guy seems happy over here. He's kind of sneaking around back there. But anyway, I don't know whose hand this is. Maybe it's the main guy. I guess it's it. He has got a boxy aesthetic. I guess it's his boxy hand. But anyway, this was also a big year for me just reading. I read so many books this year, and you'll see hints of those throughout things. So one of my favorite times during this year was going back and reading The Never-Ending Story, which is such an amazing book. I love it so much. I've mentioned it a couple times throughout the year at various times. It's one of those books that you can certainly enjoy when you're a child, but when you read that book as an older person, you'll realize just how deep all the constant metaphors are for everything. And it honestly becomes a lot more enjoyable and better, I feel like, as an adult. So consider checking it out sometime. Anyway, I think I was trying to be like, what would I make I don't know how to pronounce the name. Zai, the evil sorceress lady. What would I make her look like? What kind of structure would I make on her face? And then obviously, you got Atreyu in down here. This is my version of him, how I imagine him. In the book, he's like a little bit different than human, but he's got green skin and kind of long, I think purple hair, if I remember correctly. And then the luck dragon, I don't know. I like the way they describe the luck dragon and Beck. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. In the movie, obviously, they just make the luck dragon a very kind of Falcor's just kind of a big kind of chunk. He feels like a big, thick kind of log. But in the book, they often describe it as more of like, flying around like a little wisp, like a little flame in the air. And I imagine it being a lot more just long and more kind of like a classic Chinese dragon in some sense, with much kind of more longer, just very light features. But who knows? For the record, I don't think this is the best. I would change some things if I actually had to make a design of it. This was just a quick sketch because I was trying to think about it a little bit. Regardless, the other book, just going book to book. The other book I read right after that was The Dream Master, which is oh man, what's the name? Zelansky? Dang it, I forget the author's name. But it's a very good book. It's an older book, I think in the 60s or 70s, but it predicted a lot of interesting things. It's kind of also maybe one of the influences for like the movie Inception, because it is a book about basically psychologists that go into people's dreams in order to correct, psychological issues and stuff like that. It's super interesting. It's got so many good ideas in it. It gets very visually, I know, for a book, visually, but it gets very visually striking because he starts basically entering the dream worlds of a blind person, someone that's been blind since birth, so they've never seen anything. And so a lot of the book is introducing things like color and ideas like shapes and color and everything like that. I don't know. But anyway, they have a lot of fun ideas in that book that was way ahead of its time. Like when they talk about self-driving cars, they talk about how people kind of miss their freedom. So it's like a popular thing to just get into your car and just blindly enter a coordinate without knowing where it's going to take you and then just enjoy the journey of wherever it goes. But anyway, enough about that. The Office. A little bit of looks like Office references, I guess. For some reason, I think I just wanted to practice that main this little part in here with the hands, because hands once again. But yeah, that's what she said. Back to doing hands over here. I believe these are starting to look, at least to me, these feel more like from imagination, just because they aren't quite as ambitious in some of the weirdness of the poses. They feel like all the poses that I think of when I'm just trying to think of poses. And then more little chaos things. You can see there's like a weird little, I feel like this is a self-portrait over here at the time. That's probably how I felt. Anyway, I was trying to bring in more values and just explore that with these quick little doodles each day. What else we got? Some girls, a big chick in the background, and some different chicks in the foreground. These, I think I was just trying to think of weird stylistic ways to represent a hyper stylized, hips and waists and legs and everything. And just feeling like, I don't know, what would be a fun, weird representation of that stuff. So that's what that is. Then we got some more weird stylized stuff. Oh, those are looking pretty funny. Okay. Yeah, why not? And then we got the look police. He sees you looking. He caught you. He saw you looking at that beefy guy in the top left. You might have looked there first. It doesn't, who knows? I probably put too much contrast on the look please. Because ideally I wanted you to look at the top left first and then realize that you got caught looking by the look police. More weird character-y stuff. Just trying everything, stylizing, having a lot of fun. Honestly, Kimo Dameshi, great time. Even though these aren't very figurative, they're just kind of practicing weird faces. I don't know. I was doing my own thing. It's fine. It's fine. No one complained. Yeah, exactly. It's fine. This guy knows what's up. Just do what you want. Practicing more stuff. This is when we started to get into painting with the hand class. So obviously there's some of that. Talking about how to simplify colors. How to just approach it with simple gradations, where the color zones are on things like hands. At this point, I was like, hey, remember those radial symmetries? What if I use them and do my Kimo Dameshi stuff with them? And that's where we're at. So I'm drawing weird faces with radial stuff. I don't know what's going on. But they're nice and strange and trippy, and I kind of like it. Honestly, I like this one. This one was pretty good. We have another one, which gets even weirder. I don't even know where one face starts and stops once you get into this lower area, but you can see there's faces everywhere. A little more obvious as you get further away, but yeah, good times. More faces, painted faces this time. It's got tons of folds going on, which is kind of fun. But yeah, why not? There's like a very smug looking, I want to say it's like a marmot or something, but I don't know. All right. And then this was, for the record, at this point, it was like the last day of Kimo Dameshi. So the time limit just keeps shrinking. It goes from 24 hours to 12 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever it was, down to like 15 minutes. And this was all I could do during the last one before Kimo Dameshi closed. It's supposed to be the meme of Matthew McConaughey, I think, from True Detective, But yeah, that's all I could finish of it. Hopefully, makes sense. And then, ooh, some political cartoons. I just felt like drawing some demons, some horrible demons. Matthew Miller, Steve Miller, two sides of the political spectrum, both pure evil, in my opinion. Take that with whatever you want to take it with, but I couldn't stand either of them, and I had to draw. I had to draw them. I had to draw their weird personas. Anyway, normally these videos are very chronological, but I think because I wrote Chemo Demeshi on some of the stuff, it's a little out of order. But anyway, more hands from imagination, more hands from reference, talking about stylization. There you can see, you can either make things boxy, you can make things very focused on curves, you can make things angular. It's kind of a fun thing to do, is to practice the same pose with different styles. And there's, oh, I already showed this one. There's my color zones. Look at that. You're getting a free lesson right now. Then back to some studies. No, actually, yes. Okay, the top two are GeoGuessr studies, or I should say the top and right one. The other ones, I believe, were just random, but trying to find the feeling of Vladimir Mozart from earlier in the year. But I think they were just made up stuff. Nonetheless, the tip you can take away from this page is that I was actually keeping these thumbnails of the photos very tiny. And the whole point is to basically see them at this size and not get hung up on the details. Instead, just abstractly trying to recreate what you're seeing at this scale. And, if you can't tell what's going on in a part, that's fine. Just capture the values of it. Try to make sure you're focused more so on the colors and values rather than letting your brain try to tell you that it knows what color something should be. Because when you see something like a road, your brain tells you, oh, a road, that's, some kind of asphalt gray dark color. But if you're just looking at a tiny thumbnail and you're like, I don't even know if that's a road, all I can see is color and value. And that's a much better way to approach these things, is to get out of your expectations for different objects. But anyway, moving along. I don't even remember doing this one in the slightest, but it's kind of cool. I don't know. I kind of like this weird worm-like. Maybe this is, I don't know. Feels very Dune inspired, maybe. But it's kind of a fun, creepy little weird guy going on over there. Another random page of environments trying different styles. I don't think that style worked too well, but who knows? Another, I think this was all just a weird experimental unwind after all of the Chemo Demeshi stuff. Just kind of getting in and just trying different techniques out, seeing what sticks. Yeah, more stuff like that. This is kind of fun, just trying different things out. Other guy, this guy's got a cool watch. It's got little files on it. I think I took a little breather from all of the nonstop organic chaos of drawing hands and faces and Chemo Demeshi stuff for over a month, and I finally was just like, I miss doing mechanical things. I need some hard surface in my life. So we're gonna have a little run of some hard surface things in here, which is a welcome break. So lots of industrial noodling design things, kind of just making stuff up, like what's the dumbest kind of camera I can make, what's the dumbest who knows what. Just playing around with shapes, really, which is why I love industrial design. This kind of looks like a mechanical, I don't know, peacock, I want to say. Maybe something, chocobo peacock. Who knows? More little guys. Some of these are a little off balance. I would say they could be a bit better, but they're fun. I'm not going to give them a hard time. They do some interesting ideas, and that's all we really want from them. Some canisters, some boxes, some basic or random little, who knows, props of some sort. It's always fun. It's always good to do. More getting into mechs after it. Okay. Weird little creature, though. A creature, a little bit of industrial, a little bit of creature stuff happening in some of these. So I'm okay with that. Trying to see if there's any standout pieces that feel like I need to go back to and develop more. Maybe this guy up here. I don't know. I feel like there's a little potential in that one. Maybe not. Let's keep moving. How about this page? Anything worth keeping in the old brain bank? Nah, probably not. This feels like a remote control for like a cheap RC car or something. Ooh, okay, more thumbnails. Trying to bring back some old friends, such as the thick and thin pen, but trying some classic Cynicsy stuff, which is to make little spaceships and things. The stuff that originally got me working in the industry. But feeling rusty on those. But sometimes you get interesting ideas popping out of these things. You just got to do a bunch, and eventually you'll stumble into something. Definitely some inspirations, trying to find some ideas, some feelings of like a Sparth spaceship or maybe some homeworldy stuff. Feels like something to get you across from the moon to the planets, just like a little ferry. Anyway, more little things. Let's see, anything good here? It's kind of more of an exosuit. Maybe, I don't know. It's always interesting to look back at things like this where you don't really remember too much, because sometimes you see something and you're like, why didn't I just keep developing that? That could be fun. And sometimes I do see stuff and I bring them into the future and I keep developing on them. But a lot of times now it's just kind of stranded, orphaned little designs, which I'm okay with personally. It's fun to make them just as little ideas. Maybe they'll inspire you to do something different and weird. Who knows? But yeah, more little mechs, more little chunks of mechs, chunks of industrial stuff. Not bad there. More fragmented ideas. And yeah, it's like I finally had enough of fill of doing all the industrial stuff. So some of the faces are starting to come back into play just a little bit. They're creeping back in. I was like, okay, I finally got some industrial stuff out of my system. Now I can throw a horrible dog? What is that? Oh, well, I like this guy. That guy's good. Not so much this guy, but the other guy. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with some of these. Yeah, why not? Let's see. Anything good here? Any good? But these are almost good thumbnail ideas. Maybe actually, this one might have some potential. We'll see. More and more. Okay. It's good to see a bunch of thumbnails because it makes me feel productive, mentally productive. Anyway, this one looks like it's on its side. Because this looks like a little car design or some kind of vehicle, but it's obviously climbing up the wall here. We're looking at it from a weird angle. If everyone just tilts their head 90 degrees to the right, we can all get a look at that little vehicle thing. There we go. And then we can move right along into some architecture. We're doing building designs. I don't know about these. Let's see. Oh, wait. Okay, now I remember something at the very least. I do remember my $1 million idea. Okay, sharks. Hear me out, sharks. So, here's the idea. We've all been camping before. We've all been in a tent before. What if the camping tent is themed like famous books? Because then you can just make it look like books hanging out in the middle of the forest, and they can just be sitting like this. You could have Lord of the Rings. You could have Windows 98 for Dummies as your tent. You could even have a deluxe tent that looks like a little stack of books, if you want a little more structure in your tent. But personally, I like the just A-frame style tents here that are just books. So if anyone wants to, talk to me about that, just sharks. Anyway, more sculptural, fun little architecture ideas. Why not? More little robotic stuff as well. It's a lot of similar ideas, which I kind of like when it's a lot of just playing around with similar ideas, but doing it slightly differently every time. Oof, more thick and thin pen. Let's see, any winners on this page? I feel like, this is kind of interesting, but I don't feel like it gives too much wiggle room to come up with something new. This one feels just off It's too posed. It has too much of a pose. This one might be able to see something in that. I think the rest of these bottom ones, not feeling too much. Nah. Oh, another page. Wasn't expecting more. Looks like I'm going for a lot of these similar poses and just kind of exploring the proportions. I think I like it better like this, but then again, who knows? Nothing too amazing. Anyway, oh, there's more. What are these little conquistadors doing? Why are they trying to explore my thumbnail page? Little Sancho Panza and Don Quixote over here. Yeah, I don't know if any of these really strike a strong resonance in my brain at the moment. Maybe they do in one of your brains. And maybe you'll come up with an interesting visual idea based on it. It's the other great part about art and making thumbnails is you can inspire completely different things depending on who you show it to, which I love about thumbnails. There's some more. Ooh, okay, getting a little weirder with the shapes. Okay. I kind of like where this is going. It doesn't have any arms. This one is like, kind of has arms, but feels like it loses a little bit of the personality of the legs. Somewhere in here. Somewhere in here is the right idea. No, these ones don't have good balance. I'm sorry. This little skeletal guy, weird. Not feeling it. This one over here, don't like the balance of that. It's too busy, too chaotic. This little guy's adorable. Not really a mech design. I guess it feels like just a little guy. Just a little guy. Ooh, okay, back to those shapes. So I did keep exploring them. Is this too thin? Has science gone too far? Maybe it's okay. I kind of like the big round shoulders. Then we have like a much chunkier version down here. Okay. And the, I don't know, what I would call the emerald weapon slight inspiration going on in here, which has always been a mainstay of my designs, as you may know. Let's see. Speaking of emerald weapon, we got a little chocobo guy. Nice. Maybe a little fantasy character? That could be fun. Sword and shield mechs. Different writing mix. Okay. I'm okay with this page. I kind of like it, actually. So, some good stuff going on there. Then we got, darker tones. All right, exploring a different style of thumbnailing, because you can do thumbnails using just a blobby, slightly transparent brush like this, and maybe you'll see something fun in the chaos. Maybe you won't. Or you can be much more picky, but still rely on a lot of ambiguity, such as doing car thumbnails where you're just kind of really focused on blocky box brush shapes. It's kind of fun to do. I've done it in the past, and it's always a good time. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of the difference right there. Ooh, color. That color caught me off guard. We've been staring at grayscale for so long. It feels so meaningful. Once again, bringing forth some emerald weapon, I feel, some emerald weapon influence. And, okay, they just keep getting it more and more interesting to me. Anyway, this was also the time of the year where I did my one real YouTube video of the year. I'm sorry, everyone. It's been a crazy year. But regardless, I did make the arm video this year, which was fun. So before I made the actual video, I was doing a lot of just practice to try to get into the right mind state. So I think this was like just one of the many pages of just like thinking about, how can I talk about that stuff? How can I learn that stuff? How can I make it digestible? And I think this was the point where I was like, what are the actual muscles I want to focus on? Because I don't want to do every single little muscle group. And then I was like, well, the brachioradialis is definitely got to be in there. And then the biceps, deltoids, triceps, etc. But yeah, muscles and things. Honestly, I think I was looking at a lot of Terran Fiddler art when I made this one, because this is way beefier than I would ever make an arm. So I was trying to get as beefy as possible at times. And I was like, who can I look at for drawing beefy, muscular arms? I know, Terran Fiddler. That's the person. Anyway. Regularly, when I'm drawing arms, they look more skinny and lame like this. But regardless, I think I was still trying to decide how to show movement, what to focus on movement wise in the video. So trying to learn how I would simplify that. And then I was like, I don't know. I don't think I have the strength to do it right now. I'm going to go back and draw a bunch of mechs again. But then, drawing the mechs, I saw this guy and he looked like he was just shouting, just do it. Just do it. Just make the video. So I was like, okay, fine. Fine, no more mechs. I will do it. And there, I made the video. I'm not going to post all the slide type stuff from the video, but some of it, all these weird, getting really gestural with the brachioradialis and the offsets between biceps and triceps and all that good stuff. And then, yeah, just really focusing on those things. And you can see that when you look at everything, it's like a heavy focus on how those curves are weighted and where they're going and what they're representing, and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a good time, good anatomy exploration time. And here's the part where I made the final painting stuff for the video. So obviously this was the line art, and then the painted version, which it's okay. I think there are parts that could be better, but I like certain aspects of the painting. Kind of gets in reasonable mixture between the very airbrushy stuff and the more kind of hard edge stuff. I definitely like doing all the little hairs and things like that. Fun times. And then after that, back to chaos, back to comfort zone, just drawing stupid weird face like things. This makes me comfortable. Back to little robotic guys, I guess. Yeah, trying out different things. Feeling pretty good about the art at the time. More face drawing, comfort zone-y stuff. And then, of course, it was time to start getting ready for Chroma Core. So I can give you a couple behind the scenes things that you hadn't seen before. When I originally went to Sabi and Naka, I was like, hey, you guys, if you both want to do like your own logos for clothing, that'd be super cool. I'll give you all the profits and everything like that, which was great. I'm always happy to get some money to artists. But I also was like, hey, we should also do like a collaborative shirt. And we did wind up doing one. This was my original kind of pitch ideas, where it was just like, yeah, you Naka, you make something weird and grim and gross, and Sabi, you do something cute. And I just did like quick little doodles here, and I was like, yeah, just make it like that, and that'll be a shirt design or something. That'll be on the back, and we'll put this on the front. Little Stars Club versus Grim 9. We wound up making it a little bit different, but obviously, we still wound up with something that I like a lot. By the way, I know I've mentioned it a lot, but if you didn't know, Naka's YouTube channel, which he opened after Chroma Core, after he won Chroma Core, he started making YouTube videos. They are amazing. Definitely go check out his YouTube channel. Definitely, got to pass the torch on to the next generation. And I'm happy to see some Chroma Core people really making great videos, like Kuzalan and, of course, Naka. And I'm sure there's others that are building up their YouTubes as well. Always happy to see that. But anyway, this was also a little bit of Spoon June, a little outro right before Chroma Core started in July, do a little bit of spooning, a little bit of Juning, a little bit of face comfort zoning, a little bit of ears. That's a lot of ears, actually. I do like ears. I've realized that ears are one of those things that I think I like drawing more than most people. They're just fun. They got personality, It's also some comfort zone there. Weird creatures, also pretty casual comfort zone stuff. I believe this was during the initial streams for Chroma Core, like while I was just hanging out, making a little bit of art, before I got overwhelmed with all these submissions and stopped doing art and just focused on reviewing stuff. This one as well. I don't know where this one was going, but sure, why not? And then, I decided to push myself a little bit thin, or stretch myself thin, I should say, because I did the painting, post-realistic painting class at the same time as Chroma Core this past year. So this was obviously some stuff for the post-realistic digital painting class, the other Brainstorm class I had. I had 4 classes this past year. It was the obviously the weapons class, then it was the hands class, and then it was the painting one, and we'll close out with the mech one later. But I usually do 3 or 4 classes a year, and they're kind of random what I decide to do. But anyway, I always like doing the painting one because it's the most all-encompassing, most all-around kind of class that I do. And obviously, food is a big part of what we like to paint in that class. The other thing that we sometimes like to practice in that class, just to build up our brush control for painting, is things like clouds. So this was a quick cloud painting I did for the class, which always fun to do. Once again, love clouds, love those buttery smooth transitions. And we got a little bit of Google Maps study stuff on the right, just a quick one. And then, of course, we also practice our skin tones in that class, talk about things like that, primary read, secondary read, all that type of stuff. It's a fun class. Back to Chroma Core, because one of the prompts during Chroma Core was Bubblegum Mayhem. And this was the first one where I was like, I kind of want to do a entry for it if I get a chance. Because instantly when I heard the prompt, I was like, oh, this makes me think of myself, because when I was a kid, a dumb kid, I used to just eat bubblegum and swallow it all the time. Who knows how many feet of bubble tape I have in my stomach right now, because I don't think your body ever fully digests it. I have huge lumps of bubble tape festering inside of me. And this comic was supposed to have like fun little, pictures of me enjoying bubble tape as a kid, being like, I'm invincible, I love bubble tape. Well, who knows what I would be saying. And then cut to 40 years, let's say 30 years later, just being in a doctor's office, and I was going to have an x-ray with like just all of the bubble gum inside my stomach, and just being, kind of giving me the rundown that it's over, that there's nothing they can do for me. And that was going to be the idea, but I'm too lazy to make a comic. I don't want to do it. So there, you get the idea. That's it. Pretend I made a fun looking comic. Anyway, I think I was also exploring like, what would I do if I had to make some weird crab mechs, because they had to make crab mechs. And I think I was like, well, there's a lot of ways you can go about it. Focus on the eyes, focus on the weird shapes, whatever. I didn't really spend too much thought or time on that though. Just little bits of stuff. Some quick painting stuff on textures also for the painting class. Once again, going back and forth between Chroma Core and the painting class. And then back to industrial stuff. Where is this coming in the whole scheme of things? I guess I just felt like taking a break from the other things. So a little bit of industrial stuff there. Ooh, okay, a little punch of orange. I think I was doing this during the Chroma Core nightly streams. I was just messing around, making little designs. Once again, very Emerald Weapon-esque, at least in my brain. I know it looks nothing like it, but it's just in my brain. Some weird little things here as well. Yeah, those are kind of fun. All right. And yeah, mechs. So I believe somewhere in here, Chroma Core ended, and I was pretty much spent. Actually, right after Chroma Core ended and I'm making that video, or you might be aware of, yeah, our baby came a month early, over a month early, in fact, very premature, but luckily no health issues, and we, didn't have to go to the NICU or anything. But nonetheless, I found a little bit of time to at least draw little bits of mechs. I think I just used this to be like, hey, mech class coming up. Everyone join the mech class. Mechs. And there's a little bit of nonsense as well. Just comfort zone-y stuff. A little bit of mech, a little bit of face. Yeah, that's how you know it's a classic Cynics page going on there. More mechs, more faces. But yeah, just kind of trying to get back into the swing of things, because honestly, very difficult at this point in time to even find time to draw or to, have any energy, because we weren't really sleeping at the time. So yeah, and of course, the only time I actually got to sit down and make some art, I forced myself for the tradition of yearly self-portraits. So self-portrait day, this was what I made, obviously. Like I mentioned in the video, it's meant to represent my little joy, my tired joy of staring down at this little baby in her bassinet, and just, the fun of it all. And then of course there was a little joke because we were watching Scavengers Reign at the time, so had to add the little make the baby into the little monster. You'll get it. Watch the show. It's amazing. Anyway, back to mech class stuff. We got some mech legs, warming up, getting into the swing of things. It's always good to practice different shapes, rotating shapes in space. That's a big part of just getting comfortable with industrial design, is just being able to rotate things around in space as best you can. Yeah, and there's a lot of that. Oh, thumbnails as well, which is nice. Mix in some thumbnails every time you're doing stuff. Who knows when you're going to get an amazing idea? You never know. Try them out. Your goal is to make as many bad ideas as you can without making a good one. That's how you know you're thumbnailing right. And then let the good ones be the accidents where you failed to make a bad one. Anyway, some noodling of industrial design parts, which is also something we kind of do in the class, is just kind of snaking together a bunch of weird industrial joints and things and moving them around in space. This is more like just practicing surface design for industrial stuff, which is another thing we do in the class. But yeah, we go through surface design stuff, we go through thumbnailing, we go through, just basics of moving stuff in space. I like it. Just more and more surface detailing ideas, how to kind of get some ideas out there using heavy, thick chunks of darker ink and stuff like that. It's pretty fun. And then back to thumbnails as well. But except now we're having some goals with the thumbnails, trying to make thin ones and heavy trash dealing ones. Someone's so sad about having to pick up trash all day. But I want to go back and actually make my garbage truck mech sometime. Man, it's never enough time. Anyway, more thumbnails, of course. Not only were we doing those big heavy ones, sometimes we're doing like very light, sprinty looking ones that look like they can run fast. And that's always a lot of fun as well, to just try a bunch of different things, to try different ideas for like how the joints could work if they want to be like capable of rolling or capable of walking. Weird ideas, and always thinking of how that can work, functional stuff, which is a lot of fun. You can see me thinking about that, or maybe you can decipher it. I don't know. Maybe it only makes sense in my brain. But yeah, some quick examples of like, oh, okay, what if you want to take something that's this one and just like blow it up, add grayscale behind it, or you can try to do it with lines, but then you run the risk of it getting stale because you might be drawing a little bit too much. You might be losing some of the personality, which I think it kind of did. But nonetheless, it's a good thing to practice as much as you can. And then we also, my little one that I settled on for like demonstrating stuff for the class was this little avocado mech. I kind of like this versions down here, which I was trying to make into actual like samurai. And then we have this cutesy one up here. But I feel like I have a nice little idea for a whole little world of avocado mech people, samurai, feudal samurai avocado land with mech suits or something. I don't know. But had that version. And then the last thing I did of the year was this clean line art version of them. Which once again, we got the Squire over here, which once again cleaned up those lines nice and clean from the previous one, which is very rough, obviously. But cleaned up the lines, added some more details, and then of course the samurai himself, which more minimalist, doesn't have as many like exposed little joints and things, but I think that works. I think it works to look like it's just less weak spots. I was also thinking some asymmetry. Maybe it could have like one of those, like a shoulder guard thing on one side or something. I don't know. Maybe it could be on both sides. I like little dangly things on mechs where it looks like little keychains or something that adds a little bit more movement, because the danger of a mechanical thing is you don't want it to look too solid. You don't want it to look like a block where nothing's moving. So I always like to have either cloth or things that are dangling, because then it's like just gives it that little bit of jingly jangly personality, which I think is fun. Also, kind of made the little avocado pit have like a little cushiony parts behind them, because it's like basically just the pit, the core of the avocado is like a little sentient guy. And then yeah, then everything's just kind of avocado colored. That's it. That's it. That's the whole idea. I guess I'll come back on video for this. Just closing things out. Thank you all so much for just, hanging out. I know the channel's not super active, but thank you still. If you watch this video, if you see it as a yearly tradition, that's great. Honestly, I wish more people would do these yearly lookbacks of the art they made. I kind of like it as a format. Hint, hint, maybe, more people could do just a little look back through all of their sketches, that they made in a year, because I would love it. I like looking at them myself. I even like doing my own, but I would love to be able to see them from other artists. So, hopefully more people are doing little look backs of all of the art they made. So I think that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful 2025. Make a bunch of art. You can hopefully get some inspiration from watching some of the weird stuff I saw. Maybe just one little sketch on one little page of this video inspired you to go draw, and that would be more than amazing. But yeah, stay positive, stay having fun with art, stay passionate about it, and I guess I will talk to you all later. So take care. Thank you to all the patrons as well who are still patrons. I know there's still patrons, despite my horrible track record. But it helps a lot, honestly. YouTube AdSense is not that great. But luckily the classes definitely are helping a lot. So if anything, if you want to support stuff and get something out of it, definitely sign up for the Brainstorm classes. They're super fun. And they're great with a lot of people. So the more people, the better. It's a nice little mini community event. So it gives me a little bit of that chroma core vibe, but in a short little chunk. And I like that. So yeah, maybe I'll see some of you in there. Once again, stylized portraits coming up. But yeah, anyway, going off on tangents. Closing out. Okay, so thank you so much for watching again. And I will see you later. So take care, everyone.